Mongu town, which is the provincial headquarters for Western Province. Actually, you know, as time goes on, certain names do change. There was a time when the place was called Mongu Lealui district, which in short or in initials would mean Mongu Lealui district. So it is quite a very good place, and as I said before, it is a place that is full of tourism and other things. It's the provincial administrative, the government. There are a lot of offices whereby we are being led, you know, as we know politically. At the same time, when we come to the traditional way of administration, Mongu and Lealui, also inclusive of the now called Limolonga district, were at one time one particular town. That's why in a traditional way, when we come to a traditional way, each and every district in Western Province, in Barozeland, has got a district chief, in exception of Mongu, but traditionally we also have Mongu and Limolonga respectively, according to the traditional administration and management, is led by an Induna called Inete, whose other adjective nickname is Lipulama. He also has, according to our own traditional system, he has got his own prime minister, or Ngambela, who is also termed as Induna Nalubutu. So actually the place is famously known because of the tradition that we have that happens annually, and that's the Komboka ceremony, which takes place from Lealui to Limolonga. At certain times when the waters are not as high, sometimes it can take place. I remember 1979 last year, and other years it took place at Mulamba Harbor. So, as I said, it is led by the Induna Inete, whose council is called the Sa Kuta. It's quite a very nice council where a lot of disputes here and there, issues here and there always do take place, and it's sort of a parliament whereby at certain times when there is need for people to assemble on common interesting matters of interest, they can assemble in his council through whatever things happen in that particular time. As I said before, the countryside has got a flagship, that is the Komboka ceremony. It takes place from Lealui, as I said, to Limolonga, and it calls in a lot of people. Actually, the origin of the term Mongu is an old Luiana term which means a pumpkin, because in olden days there used to be a lot of pumpkins that used to be grown down Mongu, especially at the forest margin, at a place called Mongu, or near the place that is now called Ilulombwe. So there were a lot of pumpkins in this area, and even by the time when we had our colonial masters, by then they used to buy a lot of pumpkins at this place, and the locals, due to that kind of production that used to take place in this place, they called this place as Mongu. Coming to the place that was also part and parcel of this town before it became a new town, Limolonga. Limolonga simply means false rumors. And this happened in the time of the reign of the Litunga Yeta III, who introduced or established the Limolonga royal capital, that is around 1930s. You know, lots of people were more bound to be living where there's massive water. And whenever there was Komboka at certain times, they would just go to a bit of higher mounds. They were not much accustomed to the forest margin. It's a reason why even our friends, the Mbundas, when they came, they were given much land at the upper land. So the typical Lozis were much used to live in wetlands. They could take the whole year. So when this happened in olden days, people took it wrongly when the then Litunga Yeta III planned to go at the further forest margin at a place called Sana, which currently is now called Mafulo. This place is found just at the down of Limolonga Royal Village. The term Mafulo means temporal settlement. So the first one to settle at that place was Litunga Yeta III. they did this, they established this area, this place, because they were in fear of massive water that happened in that particular year. So what do I say? What do I mean when I say Limulunga meant false rumors? By then, when people saw that change, change is constant, that how can a Lozi king live at the forest? Now, some of the people thought that the kingdom was declining. Now there were false rumors telling people that, oh no, the kingdom is declining. Now that kind of false rumor in old Luyana language is called the Limulunga. But now it has been seen that from the time of the Litunga Yeta III, it has been now a tendency of all Lozi Litungas to be having their movement from the lower land to the upper land using the Limulunga capital. Later on in 1933, they moved from an area that was just down the Limulunga margin up to where the palace is built. And when you look at it, it's quite very interesting that when the Lozis came in Limulunga, they discovered that they had a lot to eat. Apart from eating food from coming from the plain, they would even eat food from the forest margin and also at the upper land. So it's quite very interesting that Limulunga is now fully established and has now stood the test of time. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. The Lozi people hold the Komboka ceremony.
Actually, the Komboka ceremony, earlier before, it wasn't really a ceremony, but it was a way of livelihood. That for each and every Lozi, that's why even now for each and every Lozi person and all the tribes embroidered into the umbrella of Loziship, they always have two settlements. That means the other home has to be in the Barozi plain, and well as the other one has to be at the upper land. They knew that there was this time of the year, starting from February, March, and April, when the water went up, they always had to leave the plain in order to go to the upper land. Not only them, but this migration, they used to go to the upper land with their animals and also with their belongings, so that they maintain this survival. Now, as it went on, especially, it became more colorful and known at the time of the reign of King Imwiko Lewanika the first, especially I remember around 1947 somewhere that he went into Livingston, and then this became an eye-opener to see how interesting this movement takes place, because at the same time is an entertainment, at the same time it's at that time of the season whereby people have to give homage and appreciation to the Litunga. That's why the other name for Komboka, apart from being Komboka, is also called Lishowelela. So this is how the movement came into being. So they always fear the fiery waters going to the upper land, themselves, their animals. But when you look at it, it so happens that people traditionally wouldn't go to the upper land leaving the Tunga and his household in the vast plain, but they would always wait for him to go to the upper land. That's why even currently it has become a culture and a ceremony that the Litunga has to move first, and then later on we shall have another Komboka that will happen on the 12th, whereby the Litunga Lamboela, who is second in command, will also now come to the upper land too. So it was a way of survival, but currently it has become a tourist attraction, for it shows a sort of a heritage chronicle whereby people appreciate what has been done by their forefathers, and it really becomes a place of quite jubilation. And moreover, I've discovered that it's no more 100% Lozi ceremony, it is 100% Zambian ceremony. But also even that one, I also say it's not only Zambian, but at the same time it has now become an international cultural festival, and it happens annually, for it calls people from all walks of life and nearly from every continent. So it is really now, I would say, an international ceremony. Jubilating.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's get down to the lifestyle for a Lozi person. In terms of the food that they eat, I know a lot of people, more especially those who are not from Western or Barossa, usually make fun that the Lozis eat monitor lizard or Hopani. Now, what type of food are Lozis known for?
Yeah, as I said, the old name of the Lozi people, they're called Lui, which means people of the river. So they lived in wetlands, and meaning that some of their foods come from the wetlands. For example, they had some of the vegetables, some of the lilies they used to eat them, and at the same time talk of sorghum, millet, and maize. They also used to eat like water lizards, as you call it, which is now called Hopani, which originally was called Mukuma. Yeah, but there is a story. It appears to be funny, but it appears that was, language is dynamic at certain times, We hear that one of the German guys who came here sometimes back, he was called Frederick Arnold, one of the missionaries. He loved this because they prepare it in a way that it is a mincemeat. They always move out the bones, So he said that maybe one of these missionaries at a certain point had enjoyed this meat, and then he said, please, can you give me the whole pan? Now, people changed that name from being Mbolomukuma, and then they started calling it Hopani. It is really kind of taste. And when it comes to animals like crocodiles of the water, like in olden days, they would opt to eat some eggs of a crocodile, not eating the real crocodile meat. And they also, cattle headers, they always drink milk, and they always prepare it in a lot of ways. And at times there is a kind of milk which they call, which I feel is a Lozi custard, which they always call ngoko, whereby they boil fresh milk and then put in flour there and eat it. It really becomes tasty. They also do ferment the milk, and out of which we say mavisi atemile, whereby they also make a light porridge, and it really becomes tasty, and this light porridge is area. So not forgetting the type of fish, we have a lot of fish species, though as time goes on, as fish is depleting, some of the fish that we never used to eat and throw away, this time we eat them, like the one known singongi, those type of fish. We never used to eat them. We used to give this to dogs, but probably due to climate change, which might not have been noticed by our parents, now all these now can be eaten, not forgetting the red belly fish, the mbofu, and other breams like nembu and the like. So they used to eat, or we eat much of those proteins, inclusive of meat. Yeah, so there's a lot to eat, a lot of birds, etc. We do eat them. Even, it's only that currently maybe there is this law and order whereby people don't kill wildlife animals. We also to eat, tortoise. Yeah, cool. It's quite tasty. I tasted it a lot of times, especially in my young years.
Okay, thank you very much for that elaborate explanation. Now, let's go to, in terms of religious beliefs, what do the Lozis worship in terms of, do they believe in the modern day God or Jehovah that was brought by the missionaries, or they have their own beliefs?
Actually, it appears it has just been a change of a name. Fortunately, I would say, among most of the tribes and ethnic groups in Africa, the Lozis never, or still never, pray an idol or a caved idol. We believe in the invisible God, hence the reason of the name Nyambe, which when translated would mean someone who, when communicated to, won't reply to you verbally, but does respond in actions. So that's how we beheld the god Nyambe, whom we know had a wife called Naslele, and according to our historical background of the way we know God and the way we perceive God, we believe that historically there was a time when man differed with God. You can look at that when you relate it to the current biblical teaching, especially in the Christianity doctrine, that there was a time when a human being ate things that even God, their God Nyambe, denied them and to eat, forbidden them to eat. So, because man did that, then man ran short of the glory of that God Nyambe. But according to our own kind of narration, this made God, to be disappointed, and then he ascended into heaven through the web, a spider web. So man went far away from God. But still this allowed the people to be praying to God. In various systems, they would pray to God. For example, we had the chief priest of Nakayo village. which is one of the villages that belong to the Ritunga Ngombala, where we had a chief priest who used to pray on behalf of everyone and in Barozeland to God. You know, going at a place also called a hill of God, Ritongwanyambe, some in Kalavo, you know, used to pray to intercede for the land. So we believed in the modern, the God that is much similar to the modern God, because even the current God we pray to is not visible. So even when Christianity came, it was not all that hard, because we had this kind of similarities to the way we perceived this God. So people had to pray and also put some offerings. So that was a tendency. And most you find that most of the offerings that were offered, some of them were white in color. You relate that to Holy Bible. It talks more about the white, you know, purity. People put white milk. You know, people put on white beards. At certain times, they even knew that this God has a realm on high, which they called Itoma. And they always had a fear, and they believed in life after death. That's why they used to hit their elbows, especially women. You know, they used to, we call it Matumbekela in Lozi, and also men used to make an inverted V on their teeth, especially the front teeth, which they call kupumene, you know, and that was mostly done by men. And they always feared that when the next realm will come, they fear to eat flies. They fear to be in this realm, which is so bad. So when Christianity came, it has been discovered that it became very easy for people, you know, to come into Christianity, because they had a lot of things in common.
As we go towards the end of the program, we usually see the female and male folk wearing the bangles. What's the significance of the bangles, especially to the Lozi?
According to our tradition, the bangles would mean a lot of things. At certain times, it was an identity for princesses. There were certain numbers that were put. Someone can identify that one is a princess, but at the same time, even all those men can wear, because we believed, according to our tradition, that the biggest of all animals in the jungle is the elephant. So it talks about the mightiness of the Barozi kingdom by then, you know, such that it became an emperor that a lot of people were put under our influences, you know, even in countries that are no more part of our Zambian country. So it was a prestige, yeah, which shows their powers. They conquered, and they brought a lot of tribes under their control, whom they also had given powers at certain moments. They never, you know, took everyone to be a servant for long, but they would give them powers also to rule, to be part and parcel also of the management.
On the actual day of the Komboka, who is allowed to paddle in the boat, the royal boat, the Nalikwanda?
Nalikwanda, as we hear, it means for the people, it means that a lot of all of the people are allowed to paddle in the Narikwanda. And actually, it's not only the Narikwanda when it comes to paddling. There are a lot of barges. Some, we call them in laws as Mikolo Yavulena, whereby they can be identified by the canopies that are put there and the way they're shaped. At the same time, we had also Mikolo Yaslena, whereby, for example, the one for the Ngambela and the other. So people can paddle in these barges according to the way they come from. But the Narikwanda encompasses everyone. We have got barges like the Ngambela. There are certain types of villages that paddle him, and we have barges like the Notila, the Mbodianga, and many more. So people, in most cases, paddle according to their traditional names, if we are to do it in a cultural way, and they've got positions to paddle, which in Old Lozi language we call Litovili. Yeah, so that's how the Narikwanda is being paddled. But according to the way it was in olden days, some people, you know, change, like maybe someone paddling for the first time, maybe would paddle in the Mbodianga, and then you graduate into the Notila, and then later on in the Narikwanda. But all of these are all royal barges.
Maybe as we conclude, I would request you to leave us with one liloko.
I would say just a simple one. Sivaito wenanyoko na wene mwana kasukanga kuiva. Siwe isaito wenanyoko na wene mwana kasukanga kuyoisa. It's a parable which says that whatever life pattern that made your parent survive, it can also make you survive. If there's a thing that killed your parents, it can also kill. Today, we are able to eat what we eat because we inherited from the culture of our forefathers. So we are able to eat this type of food because it's not poisonous. We are not eating this food because it's poisonous. So it's sort of an inheritance that we got from our forefathers. So actually, maybe on a lighter note, that's meaning of the thing.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, sir.